What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great show of the All Around. I am your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some amazing topics that we're going to be discussing tonight. So without further ado, I don't want to prolong it. Let's bring out the Miss Beautiful Ida Bullock. And Mark, if you're going to join, let's go ahead and bring you out as well so we can hop right into these hot topics and get this thing popping. How are you?
Hey, everybody. I'm trying to learn something new. I have so I'm trying to learn 30 things in 30 days. The other day I learned how to put on false eyelashes, not with the glue.
Look at you.
Yes, they have the ones you could put under your eye without the glue, girl. And I was like, whoo, you couldn't tell me nothing. And then I tinted my own eyebrows. I said, you're not gonna keep giving these people your money. I don't think I'll ever learn to do my nails. I might learn to wear a parasol. But what you been up to, baby girl?
Oh my God. It has been a whirlwind. So, I stay busy, just super busy, just doing all kind of things, community service. And to all y'all that supported my pop-up shop, thank you for supporting my pop-up shop for the community service initiative. I appreciate it. And for all y'all that didn't support my pop-up shop, y'all should have, because it was going to a great charity. But just working, still working, haven't had an opportunity to have another vacation since Paris, and I'm long overdue. I need one. My body is stressing and I'm feeling it. So I need one as of yesterday. But just the norm.
People need to put in places where we should travel. I have not taken a real vacation. My last real vacation, I went to Paris in Europe, and I loved it. But I realized I didn't like eating cold bread. You know how they said all these places you should go, and so I never been to Vegas. So I'm going to go to Vegas, and look, for me not to have been to Vegas ever, I'm going to end up going to Vegas 3 times this year. So
nice.
I'm not excited, but I'm excited. My sister and my cousin are turning 50. So I said to them, hey, would you like to do a girls trip to Vegas? I just knew they were going to say no. Oh my God, yes. And then they're like, can we break? I said, you could invite someone, We went from 3, now we're up to 10 people. I said, first of all, we love each other. We're Black women, but we don't like each other like that. So we need to make sure everybody have their own room, because I'm not one of the alphabet people. Nope. We're not sharing room. We're not lesbian lover. Where is your favorite place that you have traveled so far?
I love Miami. I'm always in Miami. I love Florida. I've always I've been going to Florida ever since I was young. So, Miami is my spot. Pretty much any place in Florida, because I have family that's in Florida, and they'll tell you, I love going to the beach. But the only thing is, I love the beach, but I don't like...
Doctor, and you can't even see her. She be like, and when she go, she be like trying to be Sports Illustrated, G-Ready, and OnlyFans. One time I thought I would just give her a piece of my bra, Mark, and say, here. I'd be like, and I'm not that uptight, but every time I see her, I clutch my invisible. I said, can she find let to wear?
But Ida, no Miami for you? No Miami? You gonna try to go to New York or DC or someplace else? No Miami for you?
I have been to Miami, but I don't like Miami. I felt like I needed to learn Spanish. I felt like I needed to get a Brazilian butt lift. It was crowded. But after COVID, I'm trying to get away from... I went to a 60th birthday party last week, and I hadn't been around 100 Black folks so long, and it was in Maryland, so that's where all the 100 Black people were. I was like acting like, and you to see people you haven't seen before. But and like you said, you should travel more. People, I
No,
don't
We
think.
should. We should.
people are definitely getting back out. We actually over here at the HI Heritage Center, we had a Black Film Festival this weekend. So that's actually the name of it, the HI Heritage Film Festival. And there were filmmakers coming around, and they were talking about some serious issues, including some issues that I'm gonna have to bring up to Dr. Anthony that she may find interesting. But yeah, the filmmakers were here. I'd say a few of them had masks on, but there was a lot of folks that were here not having masks on and all in that space. But Dr. Anthony, I know that you're a big fan of music. And what I did not realize until I was watching one of the movies is that there is a music style that is very popular. I mean, we all know about house and hip hop and how they are very much connected to the African American experience. But I did not realize that it was a lot of the African American gay population is how we got techno out of Chicago, and that's actually what one of the films was about the history of techno coming from Detroit because it actually came
Mhm.
out of Detroit and all of that. But a lot of people don't know that history, and they think of it as being slam dancing and white folks music. But apparently, it is very much in our culture as well.
I mean, what is not in our culture? I mean, we are the blueprint. We lay the foundation for, everything. So I mean, it's hard to, just put something off on somebody else. We do everything. We're the blueprint. We're the map. So
So,
So
yeah,
so to tie that together, I was watching the Oscar. We're talking about black and what we everything that we are part of. So it's still odd to me how we continue to get what is the word snub. And so
of
everybody was
course.
talking about Angela Bassett, how
Mhm.
she did not she should have won I guess in Black Panther the supporting actor and
Oh
Jamie Lee
yes.
Curtis won, and people was talking about her facial expression. So Mark, I don't know a lot about Mark. I only know people. I only know Mark when I come here. So I got to. So I can tell Mark is a Renaissance man. So what do you all think about how she's constantly being dissed? And you have some high level celebrity, and how Michael J. What's it, Jordan? He had made history, but we'll come back to that. So, what do you think about how she's constantly being
well, she is being
snubbed?
constantly dissed. She is being constantly dissed, but some of that I think that she, whether she wants to or does not want to, brings on herself because there is a theater festival here that, well, it used to be here on a biannual basis, and then they took 3 years off, but now I think they'll be biannual on every even year in Winston-Salem, the National Black Theater Festival down there in Winston-Salem. And I can tell you that the one or two times that I ran across her, there was a time frame, and it might have been around the time of one of her more successful movies that she was having a little bit of airs, and I'll just leave it at that and everything. So sometimes the entertainers can create that kind of way and everything. So, like I said, she might have come down more to earth, but at that particular time, she was having a little bit of those airs and acting like she was above folks and all in that space.
Well, I mean, in Angela Bassett's defense or whatever, I get that same, that same misconception or whatever as being a confident black woman. And sometimes, confidence is taken for arrogance, and it's really not being arrogant. It's just that we're confident within ourselves and we're confident with who we are, and we're confident being that black woman. And so it's misconstrued, and it's always a misconception with us that we have to lower our standards and we have to lower, what we bring to the table for people to understand and accept us. And I don't think, I mean, even when and not taking away from your opinion or whatever, but even when I see her, interact and engage, and when she participates, like in Black Girls Rock and, all these, black film festivals and, other black, things that support her, I don't get that type of behavior from her. What I get is extremely confident. What I get is extremely secure within myself. What I get is I can walk into that room and I can command that room and I can make people feel inferior. So I mean, I understand where she is and I understand her plight because I'm the same way. Because I don't feel that I'm above people. People say that I'm above people, but that's not my
You're
take on
tall.
it.
You're
That's
tall.
how
You're
you
tall.
perceive. Right, that's how
You're
you
tall, so
perceive me
you're
to be,
above me. You're very
above people. But I'm, once you get to know me, I'm really cool. I'm really down to earth. I'm really, just like everybody else. I laugh, eat shit just like everybody else. But when you're intimidated by a person's presence, it's written all over your face. It's not the fact that I am being arrogant. It's because you are not confident within you who you are, and you have those insecurities, and so you feel as if I'm being arrogant. So even when I speak, and I speak strongly with passion, oh, you're being aggressive, you're being this, you're being that. No, I'm speaking normally. Like I had to check someone not long ago or whatever. She was like, you're being hostile, you're being this. Nah, broad, if I was being hostile, I would have had your ass crying a long time ago. You would know the difference when I'm being hostile and when I'm just speaking. So I think there's a fine line between the arrogance and confidence, and I think she just exudes Black woman confidence, and I love that about her.
No, she definitely exudes confidence, and I wasn't saying that. One thing I would say about people is that they can change over the course of time. And the incident I was talking about was very shortly after Waiting to Exhale and all in that kind of time frame. So definitely, like anybody else, you can grow during the course of time, and I do think that she has tremendously grown in that space. But I do know that there were times that she was not living that life and everything. But definitely, you grow with time, you grow with experiences, you grow
That's
with
your
people
cat.
putting you in check and everything. So definitely,
That's
that
it.
does happen in everything. Because, like I said, I shared this story on a couple of episodes, but there was another noted actress that ran across when she was shooting a movie a long time ago here in Durham, North Carolina. My brother and everything, and he didn't even know that she was in the Hollywood limelight. He just thought it was another freshman on campus. So when he tried to step toward Troy Bear and she rejected him, he was like, "I didn't know that that was a star because I was just trying to like step to her," and he didn't actually. She didn't respond, and then when his boys were like, "You do know that she's a Hollywood star," and he was like, "I don't care. She's just another woman."
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Ida.
And so I have came to conclusion the doctor and they are never going to agree on Black women. I'm glad you and Mark is always because, like you said, you are a strong Black woman. But I have met celebrities that thought I wanted to speak to them, and they was obnoxious.
Right.
And they weren't even high up in the food chain. But I have also been someone personal assistant where they are being inundated. Anita Baker still carries the several several 30 years ago. I got to see Anita Baker and Luther Vandross perform, and they were both such a diva. It the show made. I think they went on tour. The tour stopped shortly, but we had the same thing with Jay Z and Art Kelly. You got people with strong personality, and once they move up in the food chain, um, now do I think in their defense, I was doing comedy for 10 years locally in different and I was amazed and naive how not friendly in the industry. I had met Chris Rock, I had met um Ashley, Larry, and I was surprised how these people, and they said they gave us the other low budget comedian do not speak. One was we were even told not to make eye contact with certain people. And you remember Steve Harvey? Steve Harvey had a thing a couple of years ago that his staff could not speak to him, when he was coming on the show. But like you said, I think I always say I agree with Dr. A. But the thing about Black people, once we have put you in that 1 or 10% that we look at you and we hold you in high regards, and when you go out, we feel like you belong to us. People think I fell in love with Angela Bassett when she did Tina Turner. So she has a long playlist.
Yeah.
But when you go to these events, and Dr. A is like a celebrity to us and other people, and I can understand how they're inundated. I worked for a millionaire one time. He did not want to be spoken to. He said, I just want to go and do what I need to do. And I seen the back end of it, that people rushing everybody are their fans, everybody. So I can understand. Really, sometimes people just have a bad day and they just don't want to
And
be.
that could have been a bad day with
They
that could
do.
have been a bad day that time and everything. But and you were right. A lot of times, that same theater festival I was talking about, folks would be surprised when I would be invited to parties that Petrie Bird was putting on. And Petrie Bird, if y'all are watching and thinking about it, is the bailiff from Judge Judy, and he was known for putting on those parties for many years and everything. So that's the brother that does the bailiff role and all in that space. And he would actually sometimes track me down to make sure that I was going to be at that particular party and everything. And then there were other folks like Ruby and Ozzy when they were living that were very down to earth and all in that space. So there are definitely folks that are very down to earth. And like the old saying goes, you can use the expression dress or you can use the expression pants. They put their pants on or their dress one leg at a time as well, just like the rest of us do. So a lot of times they are looking for people that are not trying to not so much they don't like the limelight, but they also want people that are respecting them for their opinions and for what they are saying, not just because of their celebrity status, but also because they are who they are, and they're not looking for people to always be trying to pitch at them as well. Because you mentioned Ida, that you're a millionaire, and the same thing happens with entertainers. A lot of times there are fellow actors, fellow directors, fellow authors and everybody else that are constantly trying to pitch them this or that. So I can also understand where that would get very frustrating because they do have gatekeepers for a reason. They don't want you just to hand it to them out of the blue and without having at least had some initial conversation where they might have asked for it. Because there are some that will tell you to send them that stuff, and they may even help you get it past the gatekeepers in order to get these things produced and all in that space. But that's the kind of way that you have to know how to navigate that space and everything. But if you know how to navigate it and treat them with the respect that they are asking for, I find that most of them are truly down to earth. I do have to tease you, Ida, about being a comedian from DC because I do know a little bit about that DC comedy circuit as well. Because a good friend of mine, Ronnie Warner, produced that film this Christmas, and he used to be one of the main comedians down here in Durham before, and he moved to California and did that movie. But he introduced me to Pierre. He introduced me to Royale. So I do know some of those DC comedians, and they can be a handful. I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, but even by me doing this show or whatever, I get recognized out in public and things like that. I get recognized in the grocery store. I get recognized, in different places, and I try to keep a balance, but when I'm out, I just want to go to the store and I just want to come home, and I don't want to have to engage with anybody. I don't want to have
just need to start doing Uber Eats.
Girl, they love I don't even go to the grocery store no more. I have no food in my house. Like
they come to the grocery store. They love you. They love you.
I do, but I just want to be normal. I just want to, just go to the store and just do what I need to do, and that's it. But it's kind of hard when people recognize you consistently, and they're all in your face, they're all in your grill, and then one wrong move or one wrong, like little motion or nuance or whatever, then you got an attitude, you're this, you're that, but you just ran up on me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know you, Adam's Tomcat. And you're all in my grill, and I'm looking at you like what? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I get where
because the DMV has a lot of well-known celebrities, and my logic is these are people. This is their profession. This is Washington. What I would put things in perspective unless you're seeing them in an environment where they are expected to engage in different stuff, they're people. And like I said, I have been in a circle where people, they are exhausted by the time they get to their seat. They want to go through those backdoor entrance. And I think the thing with Black women, we hold Black women to a higher standard than we hold anybody, because we really don't call out our white colleagues for that. But I think the like we talked about Sierra the week before, we exalt our Black leaders or our Black entertainers. And on some level, that can almost be a burden to them. I think of Michelle Obama when she said they said, what do you miss? She said, being able to go to Target by myself. They knew what would come with it, but they said, unless you're in that world, no one can explain to you how your life is going to be forever changed. And you welcome that, right? Go, Mark.
No, that makes a lot of sense and everything. But
Mhm.
sometimes there are also other aspects of what's going on that I don't know that people are always aware of. I mentioned the fact earlier about that movie festival and everything, and they actually brought up that's the other thing that I was going to bring up because I don't know whether either one of y'all were involved in this organization that I'm getting ready to mention and everything. But Byron Hurt, who's done a number of great documentaries, did one, and he's done the one that has been getting a lot of acclaim, and it's about that lovely thing of hazing, which we know is very big on our black frats, but it's not just the black frats. The white frats are big into it. The military is big into it. Everybody's really big into it, and he really did expose it big time. He actually had one of the Dr. Anthony, you'll enjoy this. He actually had one of the mothers of the victim from FAMU that was here and everything. That's the mother of the person who's she's the mother of the one that lost his life after being hazed by the drum and the music
The
department
band.
over there.
Hmm.
And so she was here, and there was also a psychologist because that was a very triggering movie if you were watching that. But I'm just wondering y'all's thoughts on this because we talk about health issues that are going on. I would say that bullying and hazing can be a form of bullying is as bad, if not worse, than some of the things that have been going on with COVID. But maybe I'm overstating it. But I just wondered your thoughts because you even see that I'm sure on the school level because there can be hazing even on the elementary school level as well.
Well, I mean,
Go,
there's a form of hazing even in your family. We call it like a rite of passage. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? So
Mhm.
it just how the hazing is taking place and how it's being done. I mean, like you said, hazing has always been a part of like Greek life and Black culture and things like that or whatever. But I think these new age people have been taking it to a whole different level with like the physical abuse and
Right.
doing these crazy shenanigans and things like that or whatever, because making you run errands can be considered hazing, and
Mhm.
making you go get coffee, that could be a form of hazing. But like I said, when you're dealing with these new folks, these younger people who really don't have a concept of like the dangerous intentions behind what they're
Right.
doing, it puts in it a whole different perspective and a whole different ball game. Because I mean,
Mhm.
years ago, even when I was like in college or whatever, they had put out the initiative that there would be no hazing. And
Mhm.
people, they listened, but they didn't listen. And you had people popping up here and there. People were still hazing, people were still getting hurt behind the hazing. And
Mhm.
even a young man at FAMU who lost his life
Mhm.
with the whole hazing incident or whatever. And sometimes I just feel like if you're not listening, then harsher punishments need to ensue so that you'll get the message. Because you can, like I said, you can haze a person without like physical contact and physical hurt and physical harm coming to that person. Ida.
Yeah.
Well, I come from a military background, and I call hazing boot camp. Boot
Mhm.
camp. Um, and now, as a matter of fact, everyone that went through boot camp in the early 90s, and now they consider what happened to us PTSD, that it was very inappropriate. It bunched it up in a suck it up buttercup. And when I think of hazing, I tie the fraternity and sorority. I have some family members that are active members. I tied it almost to the Jim Crow. We needed something
Mhm.
of our own. We need to set ourselves apart. And when one of my friends said, "Oh, you ought to go grad chaplain," and they begin to talk about the fees and all the things you had to do to get a part of it and stuff, and I was appalled. First of all, I said, "I'm too old for this." And
Right.
and you do all of this because you want to be a part of something. Because when you think of why we formed our own sorority and fraternity, because blacks, and you think about, oh, Jesus Christ, who's called me? Okay. And you think about people, when you think about the Masonic Lodge and you think about the Band of Brother, because Black people,
Mhm.
once again, we're trying to set ourselves aside and apart, but then we are still bringing in some of the slave mentality and different stuff into the process. And like you said, now you can't do that. Well, it
Yeah, but
doesn't. Go ahead, young
now, I
man.
was gonna say you can't do that, but I was also going to say that, and you brought up the point, Ida, is a lot of times we're so caught up in, and that's one of the things Byron was bringing up with the whole notion of status and status symbols, and sometimes those frats can be part of the status symbols of the keeping up with Jones's attitude, and that was me as
Mhm.
well. I was recruited by two frats. My roommate was a Q, and when he talked about having hot sauce poured on a certain part of his body that doesn't need hot sauce, no matter who is doing it, even if it's an affectionate other person, I knew that I was not going to be joining that particular fraternity, and I'll just leave it at that, and y'all can figure out what I'm talking about by the inferences and everything. And then when he said that, I was like, nope, that's not happening. And then another one that was a little bit more mild to try to recruit me, and I was like, I'm a positive enough networker that I can do the networking without having to go through the headaches that are sometimes involved with that. But then I have friends of mine, even to this day, that are involved with those organizations that you're talking about, like the Links and like the what's the major one that's the like the social group that a lot of brothers are involved in.
Yeah, the Divine Nine.
We needed things that went outside of the church from an educational and we needed things that help us when we travel to another community, that we had some ability to reach out to some resource to stay in a hotel or interface. But I think some of my friends that have joined these things, they market it towards me. Ada, you do a lot of community service, you do prison outreach and different stuff. But I would say during times of when people had need, they had the non-sorority and fraternity helping them. I said, well, you're part of fraternity, go and let them help with your unemployment. And so I understand, once again, you can understand the foundation why these things are established, but they lose some momentum. I have had some of my family members, they wanted to pledge the first semester because they knew they were going to get kicked out the next semester, so they could say, I'm a cute out, or but like I said, Dr. A always bring it home. Black people, we don't have real established roots. We always grab onto something. Even when we created, I don't know how it benefit me, you traumatizing me for 3 days and serving you, how that helps me. And I can see people why they need, but we need to be a part of something greater than ourselves. We need to be a part of association, network. We need to be able to say, I'm a part of something. Because otherwise we get into go ahead, Dr. A.
No, and I was gonna say a lot of people join these organizations for the wrong reasons. I mean, I knew when I was a little girl, I knew what organization I wanted to join. When I was exposed to Southern University and Grambling University in the Bayou Classic as a child, I already knew as a child what road I was going to take and where I was going to go and what I was going to do. And a lot of these people, they're looking at, they're looking at the colors, they're looking at this, they're looking at that, and they were like, I want to be a part of this, but they have no concept about the Divine Nine, what they stand for, what they do, the Masons, the OES, you know what I'm saying? They have no concept about this. All they see is, oh, okay, well, I want to step with them, or I want to be this, I want to be a pretty girl, I want to do that, I want to be an Omega man, I want to be an Alpha man, I want to do this, I want to do that. But is this truly what you want to do? Is this really part of your calling? Is something that you've been wanting to do ever since you was a kid or whatever? Because some people, this is their lifelong dream that they've been wanting to do for since they were kids. Some people are legacies. Some people, they have it all throughout their family. Like I have the majority of my family is AKAs. We have some Deltas. I have my aunt is a Zeta. My uncle Sheik is a Sigma. So I have like different Divine Nines into my family. My great aunt, she was an OES. So it's it's a lot of things that's there that plagued the way for me as a child that I was exposed to, long before a lot of people was even knew what, some of these things were or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And like I said,
and that's the group I was trying to think of was the Masons. That's the group I was trying to think of was the Masons and the Elks. A lot of our politicians and other folks are involved in that. And sometimes they are quote unquote secret societies that people think that they have to join in order to make it or in order to make a difference. Because we do know that there are quite a few of our civil rights leaders and our politicians that are involved in a number of those organizations. But yeah, that's the one that I was trying to think of was the Masons and the Order of the Eastern Star.
And then sometimes it's a calling, sometimes it may not be for you. That may not, be what is there for you, and I tell people all the time, just because you want to do something, just because you have the qualifications to do something, does not mean you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I can use education, for example. A lot of people want to be an administrator. A lot of people want to be principals. A lot of people have that certification, but you you personally are not the person for that organization, or you personally not the person for that position, and you have to understand your place, and you have to stay within your lane, because you can have the certification, you can have all of that, but you can also destroy the organization within the same token, you know.
Yeah, you can
But
definitely
that's
do
why
that.
people join. But that's why people join gangs. We're built to
Mhm.
be a part of something. Whether we
Exactly.
go to work, we'll be able to be a part. The way we are hardwired to belong to something greater than ourselves. And sometimes when you see young people and even older people, they need to be a part. Like the average black person is very religious. They got to be a part of something greater than them. Even if it doesn't serve them, they will continue to stay into that. Like you will go to places. And so, like you said, if we look at, spinning back to Angela and Oscar and maybe now
Mhm.
Chris Rock, we need to be a part of something, but we need to
Mhm.
be a part of something that is true to our integrity. And like you said, a lot of time when people join things, they're joining it for the superficial reason.
Mhm.
I want to be just like when people decide what branch of service to go to or what college to go to, they are heavily recruited. Hell, we were recruited by the Avon people. Everybody is recruiting you to say,
Mhm.
come with me. And then when you be a part of it, then you realize this is a pyramid scheme, or this is not what I really thought it was. And then you walk away. And I always say that, Dr. A, our young people are always being, someone is after us once we get in middle school. Sorority, somebody is pursuing you. And I think it's very hard to maintain and be a free thinker. Because Mark, it had to take a lot to say to someone, no, I don't want to be a part. I want to go to this school. I don't want to be a part of it. And because you were somewhat initially rejecting the band of brothers, and
Oh
they
yeah,
looked at
yeah, you definitely get some flack for that. As a matter of fact, that's one of the other things I was going to mention. That it was probably something I was going to hear what both you and I can't remember either if you are a mom or not. I know that Dr. Anthony isn't, because she has the same thing that I do, which is that she's got, in my case, it's nephews, and I think in her case, it's nieces and nephews, but no direct kids of her own and everything. But one of the movies that was also shown was about the military, and I think it's called The Inspection, and it's also been floating around HBO and everything. But it is a gentleman that was very much in the gay culture, the LGBTI community, and everything. And his mother actually tried to get him to go into the military, thinking that that was going to beat that out of him and everything, but it did not. And despite all the hazing and all the initiation, he still maintained that lifestyle. And one of the poignant scenes at the end of the movie was that she said that he would always be her son, but she would never be able to accept that the lifestyle that he had chosen to live and everything. And he was basically like, well, this is me and this is who I am. Either live with it or don't and everything. But she has passed on, but it does seem like they came to some sort of at least terms with each other's different of opinion in that space. But I do know that that is something that they did with that whole don't tell, don't ask, don't tell kind of policy in the military
I
and
think it was under
everything.
Bill
But I was just
Clinton.
wondering your thoughts about that, because there are folks that are pushed into the military because their parents are thinking that that is going to beat that lifestyle out of them when that may not be the case. But I just wondered both you and Dr. Anthony's thoughts about that.
You can go first.
Okay. Well, I think I served in one of the hardest branches of service, the Marine Corps, which is a very masculine of all the branches of service. The few, the proud, the Marines, and then
By
you
the
have
way,
the
that's
Navy.
where the guy was at. He was in the Marines.
And so we perpetuated that. And as a matter of fact, I had gay drill instructors and different things. And the military initially encouraged you to create a beard. You go and marry someone, so we will protect you. We would secretly know behind closed doors what you are. But the military was very, and continue to be very um anti-gay, and the military is actually very racist under a lot of things. I think the first inclination coming, not going too far, that I recognized that I was black is when the moment I put on that uniform, and I began to understand the difference between racism and prejudice. See, you could be prejudiced, you have no power, but once you become racist, you have some authority over me to impact my livelihood. But I would see some of my gay friends that would have to go off base, and they will be ostracized, traumatized. And these people in the military now, the VA, Department of Veteran Affairs, is beginning to recognize that they harm a lot of people in the 80s and the 90s and coming to 2000, and they are trying to give what we can't get at black people as black reparation. They're reaching out. As a matter of fact, I would get all these letters from Camp Lejeune talking about sexual harassment, gender assignment, all of that. And the military is now letting people get gender assignments. So I think the thing with that, they then overcorrect. Oh, we was bullies. We didn't. And now I'm going, okay, just let anybody serve. And understand the military is very anti-gay. And most of my young friends I know are gay. They still would not feel comfortable being in that uniform, but it did set a platform and a precedent that the ones that were gay were no longer being put out, and now they're trying to retro that. I worked for a retired lieutenant colonel that served as a man, and when he got out, he finally could get a sex change. He was like 6'3", I couldn't even say shim, him, them. I didn't know what to call him, because these things were new to us. But he said, I wanted to serve my country, and his wife allowed him to be in the closet. He had kids. A day after he got out, he got a sex reassignment. I came to work for him at a consulting firm, and they just could not allow him to become a partner. Every time those white attaboys seen that big, gigantic Herman the Monster woman, their mind just said, no, no, no. And so you could see, they just find a different way of cleaning things up now.
Yep.
I mean, I've always been, I have, two gay siblings, a gay brother, a gay sister. My thing is do what you do. That has nothing to do with me, and your sexuality has nothing to do with me. I'm gonna still remain your sister. I'm gonna still be, your older sibling, and things like that. And even, even in the workplace, your sexuality has nothing to do with me. It doesn't affect your job. Or is it causing you not to be effective in your assignment? The only time I have concerns with your sexuality is if you're trying to recruit me and you're trying to be like, oh, don't knock it till you try it. No, I'm good with who I am, and you should be good with who you are. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
I hear you, Dr. Anthony, but I also hear people in the education space that will sit there and will tell you that they do not want gay teachers there because they are afraid that those gay teachers are going to start recruiting those students and are going to start.
But the thing about it is, the gay people are not the ones that you need to worry about. It's the ones that who are secretly recruiting your kids and grooming your kids to sexually assault them. It's not the gay people. The gay people are not the ones that are sexually assaulting children, and not the ones that are sleeping with minors. It's the ones that you don't think who are, sexually assaulting children and sexually, sleeping with minors. I just sent a video to one of my colleagues about a teacher in Texas, 25-year-old, who's texting a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old girl talking about the children are her soulmates. How the hell are children your soulmates? You're 25 years old, so you haven't experienced life enough that you can't go get a grown woman. You have to prey on a child. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just insane to me that people will use sexuality as a means to dismiss people. What about the people that are sleeping with married men and married women? You don't dismiss them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the pot calling the kettle black. What does my sexuality have to do with me performing my job? What does your sexuality have to do with you performing your job? If it does not have a direct impact on what you are doing, then it should not matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think phobias are more prevalent at work than in homophobic, black phobic. And I remember when I was in the corporate America space and I was someone's secretary, and I said, have you ever had a black person work for you? And he said, no. I said, and what are your biases and stuff? And I always contribute. George Floyd picked up when MLK could not finish. He began to, because we were all home, everybody seen how racist we were. Obama warmed us up to see how racist America really was, how homophobic. And I noticed with each president, they either put anti-laws in place until another one come, and they play off of the fear and ignorance of people. And I have seen people in the workplace that they have played, I'm LBG, and everything is an LBG HR ready to get reported moment. And I have seen black people, everything is a black person issue. And those people, I think, frightens me more than someone just coming in do your job. I don't care what you do and who you sleep. Just do your job and go home. But I have seen some people come in and they had an agenda when they got there.
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
agenda. But the kids, I think it's unfortunate that you have homophobic people that are on the board of education in these cities council, and they, to me, it's like the school do the same thing that church do. All the wrong that goes in the world, they just worry about the alphabet people. All the wrongs
Mhm.
that can be done, they're just worrying about the alphabet. And when you think about it, you have a very small number of openly gay people in certain professions. I had my friends that say they wouldn't work in law enforcement going because they didn't want to deal with the harassment. And despite all odds, most people don't want to be the first to have to break through to open up the door for other people, because otherwise you get abused. People I
Mhm.
think of Dr. A and different people. Sometimes you could be the most educated black person in that space. You could be the blackest person in this space. And when they say people riding on the shoulder, you're literally opening up doors that you didn't sign up for. When you think about Rosa Parks, what made Rosa profound? Rosa had MLK and all of them helping. She just didn't say, I'm getting, that was a strategy how they was going to execute. A lot of time we are lambs going to the slaughter when we go in these workspace, personal space, and we don't have anyone protecting us. Once again, I always say the black woman is the most unprotected person in America
Mhm.
behind the black man. You
But
know,
Mhm.
and
my question, and
go
this is a
ahead.
question because I heard about that case or one of those cases. How does a teacher get away with that? Because one of the one I heard about, the teacher who had been in the relationship with folks for like 10, 15, 20 years or something that were in that space. And I'm going like, didn't the school not know or pay attention? So I'm trying to figure out how the schools are not enforcing some of these rules that are supposed to be there about the way that you're supposed to manage yourself in front of these school kids. Now, I mean, I
I mean,
might.
to a certain degree, when you're inside the classroom, it's like a entrepreneurship. It's like a single based business or whatever. Because you're inside the classroom. I mean, they can't police everything that you do 24/7. People find out because the children talk or somebody else is talking, or the strange behaviors, and people start acting funny when certain children are around, or people start acting funny when certain adults are around. But I mean, it's just virtually impossible to police a person's behavior and say, like, we're watching this, we're watching that. We go through a series of trainings every year about, inappropriate relationships and inappropriate
Mhm.
behaviors with children. You're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. That's why, like when because I'm in high school now, and even when I was in
Right.
elementary, I'm never alone with the child. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want nobody saying nothing. Because I don't want no children. Now I may holler at your daddy or your granddaddy, but I don't want no child. You know what I'm saying? Because I do need a sugar daddy. But it's just a point of the matter of like just being respectful to that child, having that child being respectful to you. I remember when I was working in Dallas, one of the young teachers used to sit up and gossip with the children. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like the children, they'll ask me, "Well, Dr. Anthony, why you wasn't here?" Look, I'm grown. I don't have those conversations with you. What I do in my personal time and why I'm not here is my business. If it does not have anything to pertain to foundations of technology and engineering, we don't have anything to talk about. If it does not pertain to your grade, we don't have anything to talk about. So I shut it down right there because we're not on that level. First of all, we're not friends. When I was outside trying to play in the dirt and my mama used to whoop my ass because I got my dress dirty, you wasn't there when I was catching them hands from my mama. You wasn't there when I was shooting marbles and playing jacks and playing jump ropes. So we're not friends. So we're not on that level in certain conversations I'm not having with no child. Because at the end of the day, even though I'm still in high school, you are still a child under me and I'm not having no conversation. Now, if you're talking to me about college or admission processes and things that go on in college, we can have those conversations. But as far as my personal life and what I do in my spare time, that has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with job, and we're not discussing it. And that's just the bottom line. And then I just feel like people put themselves in positions where they're trying to befriend the child. You're not my friend, and we're not going to even operate like that. I'm one way with the kids, and I stay that one way with the children because
Now,
we just
that,
can't be
that,
on a friendship type basis, and that's just the
can't
bottom
be
line.
friends. Yeah,
No,
can't be
we
friends. I
can't
definitely agree with you on
be
that, and definitely see that.
look.
I do have a question for both you and height and everything. Does the sugar daddy or the sugar mama have to be literally the older age or anything of that nature? Because I did have a friend that recently said that we needed to go on a trip to the Dominican Republic and Colombia, and I know I ain't got that kind of money, so they're actually closer to the right age range and everything. So I need to accept this or not? Because the sugar mama be actually closer to the age range? I think there's like only about a 3 or 4 year difference.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know about the sugar mama because I'm nobody's sugar mama, but I will get a sugar daddy. You know what I'm saying? You can splurge on me all you want. You know what I'm saying? But we ain't finna be in no inverse situations where I'm splurging on you. That's just not happening. You know what I'm saying?
But Mark, you should ask a person, have you ever, you should ask her, have she ever heard the expression, have you ever did something strange for a piece of change? And if she laughed, that means you heard it. That means, and and I have seen some people, men and women, that they say they want that. They want an eye candy. They pay for someone the relationship. They don't want the commitment. I had one of my plumbers recently. He said he had a woman take him on an all exclusive trip, and they had a good time. And when he came back, he started dating someone, and he married her, and she was appalled. And he said, "Well, you paid for everything. We do have a double standard." And I think you have men. My girlfriend would say to me at this point, either they either want a purse or a nurse. Meaning they
basically,
have,
and I have to be no nurse, so you can drop the purses all the
they
time.
have a certain age. And,
but before we have like about 15 minutes left, but before we leave, I want to address the Will Smith and Chris Rock thing. So Will Smith is upset about Chris Rock, and his whole Netflix special, and him going basically still dragging his name through the mud, still talking about black women, still talking about his wife, and things like that or whatever. I understand that Chris Rock wants to tell his testimony. I understand all that. I get that, but at the expense of no, I'm just saying I get it. I understand you want to speak about it, but at the expense of black women, you haven't learned enough. You need to get your ass really beat because you keep putting your mouth on black women. And my thing is, it's a thin line between everything. You know what I'm saying? People are only going to take so much. That's just like, you beat a dog, and at some point that dog gonna turn on your ass and he gonna bite you. You know what I'm saying? So he still hasn't learned his lesson about, talking about black women, and he has made his committed debut and all of his stances about black women and black women hair, black women this and black women that. And I was really taken aback with Cheryl Underwood because she stood on Sherry Shepherd's show, and she was like, she support Chris Rock, she did this. But Cheryl, a few years ago, you was the same Cheryl Underwood that was crying all on TV, hooping and hollering about, don't nobody want to give you a chance because people was calling you ugly and people was calling you black and things like that. And the same thing that the people was calling you, this is what this man put out there towards black women. And you, of all people, why the hell are you supporting this man?
Did you want to play a little bit of the video? Because I did find a way to trim it down to at least about.
Play a little bit of the video. Let's roll the video. Roll it on out.
Asking me to talk about the Chris Rock special. I have not been able to watch it fully, but I have seen quite a few different clips on social media. And based on what I saw, I was sort of like, I have in the past found Chris Rock to be funny, but these clips to me just felt like you were trying to diss someone as opposed to being entertaining and funny, in my personal opinion. But comedy is everyone, if that's not your type of comedy, you might not like a certain type of comedian. So there are people that love Chris Rock, and there are people that don't find Chris Rock funny. You may recall Ebony K. Williams recently went to a Chris Rock show and said she had to walk out because she felt like he was tap dancing for white people. I don't know. I haven't seen his recent show. I'll let you know once I see a recent show. But Will Smith, as you know, it's almost a year since the whole I guess it's definitely over a year since the Will Smith slap heard around the world over at the Oscars. And there's been all kinds of debates. I can't believe it's been a year. That feels like yesterday that we covered that story. So of course, Chris Rock has made this a part of his shtick he has every right. It happened to him. I also saw that, Marlon Wayans talking about this in his own stand-up special. So, according to Entertainment Tonight's sources, they are getting some behind the scenes tea in regards to Will Smith and if he's seen this special or his reaction to some of what people are reporting about this special and what is said about Will Smith. So they write this: Will Smith had good reason not to tune in to Chris Rock's Netflix special over the weekend. Rock's selective outrage comedy special streamed live Saturday evening. Is that the first time that Netflix has done something like that? Wow. It streamed a live Saturday evening from Baltimore's Hyperdome Theater, where the 58-year-old comedian took aim at Smith and the Oscar slap 1 year after the headline-making scandal. During the special, Rock directly called out the Emancipation star, speculating that Smith's attack was about him, quote, practicing selective outrage. Rock also referenced cheating rumors that surfaced in 2020 for Smith and his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, among other inciting topics. I don't think we can call these cheating rumors because everyone involved confirmed it. But okay, I'll go with it. According to sources, Will is embarrassed and hurt by what Chris said about him and his family in his Netflix special. He didn't watch it, but he had people tell him what Chris said. It's everywhere when you look online and on social media. So Will and Jada have seen comments about it. So months after the Oscars incident, you may recall, Will Smith posted an emotional YouTube video apologizing to Rock for striking him on stage. He had shared a written apology on Instagram the day after the Academy Awards. Will apologized to Chris and would like for Chris to let it go, according to this source. Will has worked on himself and he is banned from the Oscars for the next 10 years. He feels like that's enough and wants Chris to move on so that he and everyone else can too. Here's the thing, though. I disagree with that. At the end of the day, this happened to Chris Rock. And Chris Rock is a creative. So I almost expect him to talk about this in comedy, not in an interview, not on some social media public platform with Will Smith or on Red Table Talk. I don't expect that from a comedian. I expect him to put it in his show. But Chris, make it funny. Because based on what I saw, to me, it just felt as if you wanted to, you know how you go back and forth with your friends and like you're playing disses? That to me was sort of what he was doing. He wanted to get jabs at him, saying that he got off from watching him get whipped in the Emancipation movie. None of that was funny to me. I didn't even crack a smile. Maybe I need to watch the entire thing from beginning to end, but I'm judging it off of the clips about Will. None of the jokes for me landed as funny. But in all fairness, Will, I'm not going to tell Chris that he needs to move on because I personally was not slapped by Will Smith on international television. So I'm not going to tell him to move on, especially when it's a year. And at the end of the day, you're lucky he didn't press charges. Let's be honest. No matter how you feel.
So, no, I'm just saying, but he did get slapped. But at the same time, you do need to let it go with Jada. Because come to find out, he tried to holler at Jada 30 years ago and she rejected him. So, you know what I'm saying? So he's still not over the fact. Girl, Chris Rock, come on now. Chris Rock, you one of them ones that we would gladly push over to the other side. You will always be Pookie to us. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn how many millions you got. We just don't want your sorry, dusty ass. And if I was Will Smith, I would whoop your ass again for talking about my wife because you still have not learned your goddamn lesson about putting your mouth on, his wife and things like that or whatever. So yeah.
Well,
I'm
like,
how much did we wind up putting out too much about information in the first place? Because that's why I think that we run into trouble. We put out too much information and everything. Because I'm going to even loop it back to what we were talking about earlier and everything. Because definitely, even in the case of the educators, some of those young educators are actually close to the age of the kid that they are teaching and everything. So I can see where some of those relationships might try to blossom and everything, because there might be a 21-year-old and an 18 or a 19-year-old.
I
And
mean, I
all
don't care. I was a young educator. When did I start teaching? I started teaching at what, 21, 22, or whatever. The thought of me ever talking to a kid like that ever never crossed my mind. When I was in Dallas, I had a young man, a little young Hispanic boy come on to me. And when I got a hold of that little motherfucker, I jacked his ass up on the locker. I had him up on the locker with my arm like this. And I told him, don't he ever in his God-given life come at me in that way, inappropriate, in no kind of fashion or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because had I would have taken there with him, he would have continued to, come at me in that disrespectful manner. I don't play when it comes to children. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how you can be 1 year behind me. I still don't care. And I'm still not going to play when it comes to children, because that's a sick person. If you feel like that you have to have a relationship with a child to feel like you can get your rocks off and feel important, you are a very sick individual. And I'm sorry.
That is very true. But then you got some folks that will sit there and do the wait and see game and everything. Because I do know some folks that were expressed interest in everything, but they knew that it was not appropriate at that time, so they were going to wait till the person got a little bit older. Because once you are legal, then there are some folks that'll be like, maybe I had the crush on them when I was 21, and now they are 24, so there's a 24, 21, so both parties are at that point legal and everything. So there are some folks that do that wait and see game, even in the academic world, whether they want to admit it or not.
Now we ain't doing no wait still here, because
in
my mind is always a child.
What'd you say, Ida?
I like Kim Pye. I follow him on YouTube. He expressed all. Why not make money off of it? It's his healing. It's his process. Who are you to tell me when I should move forward with something? Why not profit? He timed it out.
He ain't even funny. That's the thing.
But see, I agree with that. But I got $40 million for y'all to realize I'm not funny. Nobody wants Jada. And I always stand by. If he didn't bust that young boy ass and was messing with his wife in house, why gonna put your hands on someone you know can't fight? Okay. And the jokes were lame.
The thing about it is, it has always been known that they had an open relationship. He didn't have a problem with that. The issue was
that's been public knowledge.
Right, but the issue was the dissing and talking about, the black woman, and you just said black women are the most disrespected women on the planet Earth or whatever. So he stood up for his woman. So my thing is, at some point, you've been talking about this woman for 30 years. When are you gonna let it go, Chris Rock? She rejected you. Don't nobody want you with your cookie looking ass.
When people stop, I think it was poor jokes. They were not funny. If they had nailed, we would not be mad at Chris. He don't want her. If he wanted Jada to sleep with everybody but Jesus, they have an open relationship. Will and them, if they don't respond, is because we are tired of him. We've been waiting.
We're tired of the conversation, but I do have a question for you, because I got to mess with you on something before we get ready to wind down, because I like to give Ida a hard time and everything. Ida and Dr. Anthony, and I would even say myself, even though some folks might be like he's light and bright and everything, but I did go to the Malcolm X school when it was here in Durham and everything, so definitely also pro-black and pro-our people and everything. But that being said, Ida, I do have a question to ask of you. You are very pro-black and everything, and you have a $1 million animal over there that is not black at all. So I'm trying to figure out why you got that little white cat that we just saw in the thing and everything, because I'm expecting a little black cat. I got a little white cat going on here, so I'm expecting a black cat with the pro-black attitude, but I saw the little white cat. But by the way, I do like cats. By the way, I do think that the cat needs to go and make some money like Morris did. So I'm thinking that's where your $1 million is. We need that cat, whatever the cat's name is, to get and make some commercials so that you can make some money.
Bruno. I am cat sitting for my friend. The only kitty cat in here that purrs is me. I'm just cat sitting for this joker. I done told him come and get your cat and different stuff. But yeah, like I said, I think we waited a year to hear his response, and you got people that can write your jokes. He done vetted the jokes. They were lame, and now we say, okay, he got paid $40 million. Now Cheryl constantly have a issue with the black community. You remember when she talked about the black women hair, and we dragged her for filth and, and different stuff. She got her own set of issues. And I think people should just stay in there like he's a comedian. Be funny, Chris. But Chris also said he have autism. Chris is a strange joker to me. I think if he had hit Dave,
So
which
he
he
has
wouldn't have,
self-diagnosed autism.
Dave Chappelle would have came back and rocked that and wrote. It just the jokes fell short, and different stuff. And to piggyback on Dr. A about the truth, I call Chester the molester. We young people are constantly talking about women hitting the wall. We remember in school where you had a 20-some-year-old man coming to picking up that 12th grader and different stuff, and the young boys could not compete. And you always had that 1% of teachers, maybe less than 5%, that morally you can't teach morality. I do prison outreach and they make me take a rape class, so I got to understand you can't date the inmate. To me, every time I take the training, I think it's laughable that you got to make someone say something out of you won't sleep with the help. You won't try to fall in love with these people.
Yeah,
And so you always want to have people squeezing. They just had someone in College Park and Mayor that got arrested for child porn. People think that, but you already know if you have a desire to be Art Kelly. Don't judge me. I said what I said. You already know you like, if you're Woody Allen, you already know you like the children. Like my grandma said, you like the children. And nobody ain't gonna stop making you like the children. You remember that white lady that went to jail for dating her?
I got to ask you a question, though, and this is for both you and Dr. Anthony, and I'm not going to lie and say that it can't be an enhancement tool in relationships and everything, but is it about 70% of what is masquerading as pornography really child porn? Because it seems like me every time you turn around, that's who is being used and everything is the children and the kids and folks that are way underage. Like I said, I ain't done no
I don't think anything is masquerading as child porn, because if you want to watch pornography, you're just going to want to watch pornography, but it's the type of pornography that you watch. You know what I'm saying? Me and my guy, we watch pornography. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm not watching no children, but, like I said, it's the type of porn that you watch or whatever, but when you're targeting children, you are a sick individual. You know what I'm saying?
No, I definitely agree you're a sick, you're a sick individual, but I just think that it's,
you know what I'm saying?
That particular industry has started to target it too much, though.
Your sexual highlight and your climax off by, fantasizing that you're with the child or wanting to be with the child. That's insane. You know what I'm saying?
That's totally insane, and that's why I've been surprised at that industry. I mean, the industry's been around forever, just like prostitution.
It has been
forever, but it looks like the percentage is very high in the amount of it that is very much
child pornography. But that there's a difference. You have the adult things or whatever. I mean, even it comes on, like pay-per-view, and then certain cable companies that you have the different pornography channels that's in there or whatever. But it's nothing related to children. The ones that are related to children are these sick ass individuals that are paying to watch kids get sexually assaulted, get raped, get sodomized, and all these crazy ass things. You are a sick damn individual if you got to do some stuff like that, Ida.
But most kids are now being introduced to porn between the age of 9 and 13. They will tell you.
No, it's younger than that.
I'm just saying, just to generalize.
Well, yeah, in general, it's younger than that, because you remember when we was on Kurt's show. Right. Remember when we was on Kurt's show and I was telling them, make sure that you go and you have a conversation with your child, because the pornography is in the elementary schools. I was an elementary educator for a long time, and we're talking about from kinder all the way up to, like 6th grade. So it started, like Ida said, it started at a very early age. So you have to, have these conversations with your children, because you don't want them being exposed to stuff and they're getting their information from another child. Right. And I tell people all the time, check your child's phone. Have conversations with your children about the day-to-day that's what's happening in your child's life. Don't just, stop at the surface. Oh, how was your day? What did you do? No, go through that cell phone. You pay the bill on that cell phone. Go through those backpacks. See what your child is doing. Address those issues. Address those concerns, because you never know. You know what I'm saying? Because, for example, one little girl told a friend of mine who's also an elementary educator, she was like, Miss So-and-so, do you know what hentai is? And she said, no, baby, I don't know what that is. She was like, what's hentai? Oh, she was like, oh, it's Japanese porn. Just blurted it out. So these children are being exposed to this through cartoons, through all that, like my mama say, Pokemon, whatever it is, they're being exposed to it, but the parents are oblivious because they don't have the conversations with their children. And we need to start having conversations with our children. I know that, some people feel like our children are too young for these conversations, but children understand way more than we give them credit for. And we do not want another child explaining to another child what it is about sexual relations and things like that or whatever. We just don't want that to happen.
Well, porn, I just wish I had bought Pornhub in the middle of COVID. Actually became billionaires. People were watching more porn than ever, and is well known when the church travel, the porn industry and the hotel just take off. Black China said that she made $295 million last year from being on OnlyFans page. And that young lady that said, "Catch me out there" from Dr. Phil, she said that she was making, I want to say 10 or $20 million a month. And so she then said, she came on and said, "Shame on you all, you young old men watching me," because the girl might have just turned 18. She's barely 18. And so actors and entertainers are now going into that. And like you said, they really can't regulate. And then the area that we in the DMV is known for the highest level of child trafficking, sex trafficking. And so, like you said, not all of them are school teachers. A lot of what you see, children are always on the table to be preyed to someone. Your cousin Art Kelly proved that. Don't judge me. I said what I said. And so you think about it, it's unfortunate that, like you said, they're being introduced through their phone, Snapchat, and all these other things. And by the time my nephew told me one day he went to school and another kid said, "Hey, Bryce, look at this on my phone," and different stuff. So you might not catch everything on the phone. And once that is in their head, by the time you get a 20-some-year-old person, their mind is fully developed and they have access to things. Do that make them a predator? No. Most people want to deal with people around their age, or they want a sugar daddy, sugar mama, or they want to be Woody Allen. And people, then we talk about same sex and different stuff. Like I said, you got a lot of stuff that I say about the school. The school is burdened down with raising your kids, telling your kids things that you should tell them yourself. And if it's not going to be told, it's going to be sold. So like I said, when she said she made $295 million by showing her sexual part, and these young people now, Izzy Azalea, her record career fizzled, and she said she made $10 million on OnlyFans last month.
Well, not only that, but I mean, it was I know we're winding down. I'm over here in Durham, North Carolina. There was a student not that long ago. It was a white student that, if she had not been busted by her fellow classmates because they were sitting there looking on the web and stumbled across her, she would probably still be doing it. I think she is still doing it in terms of being in that trade and everything. But she literally, Duke is not in the cheap school by any means of the imagination, and she literally went to that extreme in order to pay to go to Duke. So, like I said, that so happened that her folks, and I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, happened to be on there and looked at the website, saw her, and that's when she got busted. And then the university kind of eased her out of the courses and eased her out of the school. I think she eventually did go back and possibly get a degree. I need to double check on that though, but I do know that she specifically said that she was going there because the school was too expensive and she needed to find a way to pay for the school that she wanted to go to.
So strippers are being put out of business now because of OnlyFans. People say, "I don't need to leave my house to get my nuts and butts. I can go, just give me something and it's cheaper." People are doing all sorts of things now to live and survive, and so now everybody's stepping away from the BBL. So I think a lot of things that we talk about, they are trends. They have lasted for 10 years. Even the reality shows are somewhat winding up. People get tired of things. Everybody was trying to look like Jessica Rabbit. Was that the character? Jessica, whatever. Yeah. And so now people realize the harm, but look what it has cost us. This young generation have a unrealistic view of how they look and how they think, and they even have an unrealistic view about being money. What is that? We could talk about it next time. That basketball player, Memphis Grizzly, I've been following all for the last week or two. You know, people just want to be millionaires and fuck. That's
Yeah,
all.
but,
You know,
but Ida, you just gave me a brand new idea. So we haven't tried that yet. We've been having talk shows. We've been having a couple of drama shows. We've been having a couple of other things. But I'm gonna have to get with Nick, one of our founders, and Kim, and see if we can find a house somewhere and create real stars of Pod TV. We'll just put all of the different hosts in there and see how long we can survive with each other before we wind up strangling each other and all in that space. Because I'm seeing Dr. Anthony and Sasha Star, this crazy Ukrainian Canadian, already at odds with each other. So that'll be already a fun conversation.
oh yeah. You know, she like to lay hands. She got that Pentecostal pastor, daddy. She the lay hand when you white folks. What is something you would say to a white person? They said, "What does lay hands mean?" I said that means run to your car or call HR. Tell me she want to lay hands.
Yeah,
that's not a sexual.
It's
like when we found on Netflix, we found on Netflix and chill mean you get ready to be a baby daddy. Next, you know what you heard? What was expression you heard that you didn't know it was sexual? It took me 2 years to ask somebody what THOT meant. I said THOT. I just learned what WAP meant like 2 months ago.
I'm gonna need you to stay up with your acronyms. Well, with that being said,
I've been inside too long. I didn't even know how to hand dance. I didn't even know how to hand dance while I went to this birthday party. They have all these different hand dances. I'm like, what is that? But that's out of what, Chicago and DC hand dancing?
Yeah, hand dancing.
Like I said, the other movie they showed that I referenced at the beginning was the techno movie, and one of my filmmaking friends, his young daughter, I think that her daughter's probably 21 or 22, was teaching some new form of line dancing, and I thought I knew the line dancing, but she was adding some new bops and jumps to it. And I'm sitting there going like, this is a whole nother dance style, because like I said, they added a new wrinkle to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so with that being said, we want to bring the show to a close. Make sure you click like and share, and make sure you guys tune in next week for another great episode of the All Around. We will be discussing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, because I'm a fan of them, and some other topics that I would like to discuss. And of course, everything is centered around race and being a Black woman in America and abroad. So we're going to bring that to the forefront, into the limelight. And once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you check Ida out on her platform, idabullock.com. And we will see Mark next time if he would like to join us in the conversation. And with that being said, we out. Deuces.
We're out of here. And y'all catch up other programming on Pod TV as well, including the online dinner party. And of course, Dr. Anthony will be right back here on next Monday with some more energetic conversation.
And we have a guest next Monday. Next Monday is the 27th, right?
No, that's the following Monday.
Okay, the following Monday we have a guest for the 27th.
All right. So not on the 20th, but on the 27th. So let's get on out of here and watch Dr. Anthony and her whole dance moves. I don't think that this was line dancing, though.
I don't do line dance.
What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.